guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Ellen and today I'm going to be talking you through some easy care houseplants. So today guys, I have picked out the top 10 easy care houseplants from my collection for you. I wanted to go through this because there are still a lot of people out there that are just getting started in the houseplant world, and I just wanted to make it sort of easy for you to pick out, you know, the top houseplants that you know that you are definitely going to be able to care for and that aren't going to cause any problems, because especially when you first start out with houseplants, if you buy a houseplant and then it dies, it's going to stop you from wanting to go on and buy more. And houseplants are brilliant. They're so lovely to have around and, you know, to bring a bit of nature inside. So the plant I'm going to start with today is this ZZ plant here. So I bought this plant because I wanted a plant that would be able to survive in a lower light area. So this one lives at the top of my stairs. It's one of the only houseplants that I know of and that I own that can really live in dark spaces. Now, I will do a clip of this video in its dark space. And as you'll be able to see, it is in a really, you know, a dark corridor. It gets a little bit of light that floods in from the bedrooms, but other than that, it's in a really dark spot and it does really well. It's even had 2 new leaves come out here as well, which is amazing. 2 new stems, I guess, all the way up here. So they take a little bit longer to grow, and I have had this for quite a while now, and that is the first growth that I've had from it. And I think that was due to it getting a bit more light flooding in through the summer from, you know, the bathrooms and the bedrooms and things like that. The other thing is watering. So watering this plant, it really doesn't need much water at all, depending on where you're keeping it. So in my dark situation that I keep this in, I water this plant like once a month. That's it. So it really doesn't need a lot of watering. Obviously, if it's in a much lighter situation, it's going to grow quicker and therefore it might need a little bit more water, maybe every 2 weeks or something. But general rule of thumb with these plants is let them completely dry out before you then add water to it. So moving on to plant number 2. So my second plant that I want to talk to you about today is this Dracaena marginata that's off to the side here. I think I've said that correctly. Now this is my longest plant that I've had. I bought this from my local store about 2 years ago now, and it's kind of where my plant obsession started really. And you know, I was lucky in the fact that I went for a really easy to care for plant to start off with. It's got new shoots that just keep coming out the top here, and then when the shoots at the bottom just start to get a little bit brown on the ends, I have got a few brown leaves at the back here, then I will just snap them off. And yeah, it just keeps growing, so it doesn't ever look bare, and as long as you're giving it enough light and enough water, then it will never look too bare, and it will always just keep growing, keep thriving, keep, you know, shooting out new shoots. So with this plant, once again, it doesn't need a lot of light, and I think that's really important for new houseplant owners, because a lot of the spaces that you want to put plants into don't have a lot of light. I definitely wouldn't put this in a highlight situation. Any sort of direct light or anything like that will burn the leaves. So I definitely keep this in a mid to low light. If you want it to grow a little bit faster, then stick around the mid light. But yeah, I keep this in a sort of mid to low light situation. And yeah, it's been growing really well for me. I do also let this grow, I also do let the soil of this plant dry out. And then I'll water it once the soil's completely dry. So I just stick my finger in and sort of measure from there. But yeah, so that's plant number 2. Plant number 3 is also a Dracaena, and it's called a Dracaena fragrans, I think it's called. That is this plant here. I will just bring that round for you. Here we are. So this one's gorgeous. It's the same type as this one here, so all the care tips are pretty much the same. The only thing I would say is that this one maybe needs a little bit more light, especially if you want it to grow. So if this one's in a darker situation, it's unlikely to grow very much at all. I've got this in a terracotta pot because terracotta can sort of dry out the soil a little bit more. So I do water this sort of every 2 weeks, mainly because it's in a terracotta pot. If this was in a plastic pot, like a lot of my other plants are, then it could potentially go sort of 3 weeks before it dries right up. But yeah, this is just a really beautiful, really lovely plant. And I do also recommend cleaning the leaves on both these Dracaenas really. Any plant that has quite a sparse leaf area, quite a broad leaf area, you want to make sure that you're cleaning the leaves to make them all shiny. And the shinier the leaves, the more they're going to be able to attract the light. So it really helps, especially if you're keeping your plants in a dark space, to just make sure that you're keeping those leaves nice and clean so they can suck in all the sunlight that they can get. Just pop that one over there. So plant number 4 is the golden pothos. Now this is such a popular common houseplant, and it's not hard to see why. It's absolutely beautiful. I will insert a clip of it here because my one's just a bit difficult to move, and it wouldn't fit into the frame today. So yeah, this is a lovely, lovely plant. It grows so quick. You know, you need to give it a little bit more light if you want it to grow quicker, but I actually do keep mine in quite a dark spot just because of where I wanted to hang it really. But it's still sending out loads of growth for me. We're now coming into pretty much the winter season now, in November. So yeah, this plant is still putting out new growth. Now, some of the growth is starting to get a little bit smaller, which can happen if it's not in enough light. So I will probably try and move this a little bit and try and get it into something a little bit brighter, just to be able to keep that growth nice and big, so that when it comes to propagating it, you know, I've got plenty of big leaves to do that with. But yeah, in terms of the care of this, guys, it needs medium light is preferable. The brighter the light, it may cause a little bit of burning to the leaves, so just be careful putting it in too much bright light. But yeah, sort of mid to dark light is really good. Mid to light if you want to sort of really see that growth. And in terms of watering it, yeah, just let the soil completely dry out. Water it through, make sure that you've got some nice draining soil, and yeah, you shouldn't have any problems with that one at all. So my 5th plant on the list today is the spider plant. So that is this one here. Now I have 2 different types of spider plant in my house. I have this one here, which is a curly leaf spider plant, and then I have a straight leaf spider plant as well. This is actually one of the babies that's come off my mother plant upstairs. So I will insert a clip here of the mother plant so that you can see that one, because that is very big, and it does also have babies shooting off of it now as well, which is brilliant. So the thing with spider plants is they actually grow babies for you, so you don't have to, you know, sort of take a leaf, wait for the roots to grow, do all of that. The spider plant sort of grows for you, it shoots out, and when it gets to a certain size, you can just pop it into soil, keep it nice and moist, in a light area, and yeah, they're so easy to propagate, which is why I have so many of them. I've probably got about 5 babies from that plant, and this curly one here is just starting to shoot out a baby here as well, which is quite exciting. So that'll be my first curly baby. But yeah, so these once again are really easy to care for. The soil does like to be a little bit moist, so do not let this completely dry out. However, if you do sort of forget about it once or twice, it's not going to completely die. You can really revive these. The worst that will happen if you overwater or underwater it, overwatering, you'll find that the leaves start to turn a little bit blackish in colour, have a bit of black tinge to it. Just break off any leaves that have that, and the rest of the plant will grow. It will grow back, it will shoot out more leaves, and you'll be okay. Just try not to do it over and over again. And underwatering, I mean, underwatering is always better than overwatering. You'll probably find that your leaves just start to go maybe a little bit yellow, a little bit brown at the ends, where it's just getting a bit dry. But as soon as you see this, just water it. Just water it thoroughly, and then leave it to sort of, you know, sort of every 2 weeks. It should really filter out. It does also depend on the size of the plant, guys. So if you've got a tiny little baby one, that is going to dry out a lot quicker because there's not much soil in there. If you've got a bigger plant in a big pot of soil, it's going to stay moist a lot longer because of the amount of soil you've got. So do keep that in mind with these care tips today. That sort of does really, I mean, with my marginata here, it's in a very big pot, so that will take a lot longer to dry out. So plant number 6 today, guys, is my snake plant. Now that is this one here. Now my snake plant is it's quite small for a snake plant. I bought it a little bit smaller than this, and it hasn't really grown much because I tend to keep it in quite a dark spot. I'm planning on moving this into more of a mid-light situation soon, just so that it can really, you know, start to grow throughout next summer, and I really do want a nice big tall snake plant. So that is kind of my plan with this one. Now, it's got the succulent thick type leaves again, so it really doesn't need a lot of water at all. Just let the soil completely dry out before you water it. It can actually stay dry for a few days as well once it dries out. You don't need to water it straight away. So if you're renowned for forgetting about plants and leaving them to dry out too much, then this is a winner for you, 100%. Make sure the soil's nice and draining. You don't want soil that's going to hold on to too much water. You know, the base of these plants really don't like to be too wet. But yeah, and it sort of grows from the middle there, so I don't know if you can see the centre of the plant there, sort of new bits starting to grow up, but they are taking ages to come through. So yeah, I'm definitely going to try and move this into a brighter light so I can see it grow a little bit more. But once again, do not put in direct sunlight. That's probably the one tip for this, definitely not to do. But yeah. Plant number 7 today, guys. Now this one is a little bit more controversial as to whether it's easy or not, but I do know that it is a very popular houseplant and it is a very beautiful houseplant and I absolutely love it. And that is my string of hearts. So this one here, I'm trying not to get this tangled because I don't want to break the leaves, but this here is a variegated string of hearts. So it's got a little bit of white variegation on the leaves. I will do a close-up of that for you so that you can see it properly. Now this one, the basic care tips for this one is it needs to be able to see the sky at all times. So as long as this whole plant can see your nice blue sky outside, the chances are it's going to be okay. You want to keep it in a sort of southern, east and western facing window. A northern facing window is going to be too dark for this plant. So it does have quite succulent type leaves. So that sort of tells you straight away as soon as the leaf has that sort of, you know, rigidness to the leaves like a succulent, that it does like to be in a brighter space. However, direct sunlight can also cause this plant to die. So for me, I keep it near my, what's this window? I think it's southwest facing window, up to the side. It can see the sky, it gets enough light, and every now and again I will just pop it directly in my window for the day if we get a sunny day. Mainly because I don't get a lot of direct sunlight from this window. It's sort of in the morning and then by the afternoon it shifts around. So as soon as the direct sunlight has gone, then I will just lay this in the window and just let it soak up some light. You know, you can do that with some of your plants. If you can't give it as much light as you'd want to, then you can just occasionally pop them in a brighter space for the day and just really let them soak up some light. And that will help with that as well. Now with watering of this one, I let it dry out. I tend to basically put my finger down, and when I feel that the soil's dry, then I will water it. You want to keep this in quite a sort of draining soil. Again, it's got that succulent thing, so it does like to dry out. So I water mine probably every 2 weeks. In the summer, maybe more like every 10 days. But yeah, so that is the string of hearts. Probably one of my favourites on the table today. Number 8 that I'm going to go through is my Philodendron Brazil. So this is my other favourite on the table today. And that is the one just at the front here. Now, as you can see, these leaves are absolutely beautiful. It has got some quite nice variegation on there. This, again, is quite a popular houseplant, probably because of the variegation, the colours, the leaves. It's very pretty. So this one, once again, is quite easy to care for. Most of the vining philodendrons are quite similar. So this plant lives best in mid-light. The more light you give it, the more it will grow. However, once again, do not put in direct light. It doesn't need really bright light. It's quite good in a mid-light situation. It will grow enough for you, but it can also live in a slightly darker situation. If you find that your leaves are really starting to get small as they're growing at the ends, then yeah, just increase the light a little bit, and that will really help. Now, the watering with these, I tend to water it once it's about 2 inches down dry. So that means that the soil at the bottom, or most of the soil, is still slightly damp, but just the very top is dry. So it means that it's really, you know, soaked up the water, and it's going to dry out quite quickly from there. So I do water it once it gets to that stage. However, if you do let it dry out a little bit, it's not too bad. These plants do bounce back quite easily, and you shouldn't get any major damage from that. So my second to last plant is this one here. So this is a parlour palm. Now this is another one that I've had for ages, and honestly, I forget that I've got it a lot of the time because it is so easy to care for. So this is obviously a palm type plant, but this is probably the easiest to care for palm that I have ever owned. It is fantastic. It sits in dark to medium light situations and it absolutely loves it. If you give it too much light, especially any sort of direct light, then you will see some browning in the leaves and it will start to go very pale in colour as well. So as you can see, this is a nice fresh green colour. That's the colour that it's meant to be. If your plant is starting to look a paler green, or some of the leaves are starting to go like a yellowy colour, or brown tips or anything, then just move it out of the light a little bit. Or on the other hand, if it's in a really dark situation and it's starting to go yellowy, then give it some more light, because that is the reverse of that. So they sort of do try and tell you as quickly as they can when they're not happy. But this is the easiest plant I've had. A friend of mine has one of these and she keeps it in her window and it does get too much light. So we have been talking about that recently, and actually now that it's going into winter, it's starting to sort of get a bit darker and sort of starting to look a little bit healthier. So in the summer she will be moving it into a darker spot so that it's not getting that direct light. But yeah, medium light for these guys is the best if you really want this to grow. I've got actually a shoot coming out there, so it's clearly quite happy in the area that I've got it in. This just sits on my kitchen side, pulled back about 4 feet from a southeast facing window, and yeah, absolutely thriving. Once again, I just wait for the soil to go completely dry and then just give it a top up of water. But yeah, and plant number 10. So this is my last plant. Now this is a Tradescanti sabrina. This is the plant that I potted in my video 6 weeks ago that was moving cuttings from water to soil. And this is how much it has grown already. I don't know if you remember it from that video. I will insert a clip here for you of it when I just potted it. Now this has started to shoot out from the sides and everything. So this was two tiny cuttings. So I am very happy with this. It looks fantastic. It's growing so quickly. Now this sits in my window at the moment in a macrame hanger, and it gets about an hour of direct sunlight in the morning. At the moment, winter sunlight, so when it comes into summer I will move that away from the window a little bit, I think, so it's not getting too much direct sunlight, as it will be a little bit more established then as well. And once again, I just wait for it to dry out and then I will water it. At the moment I'm keeping this a little bit more moist because it's just been potted from cuttings, so it's a little bit different. But for general care tips for this, I would say to keep it in sort of a mid to light situation, especially if you really want it to grow. And yeah, as soon as it dries out, just give it some water top up every sort of 7 to 10 days in the summer, and then maybe like every 10 to 2 weeks in the winter. But it totally depends on your situation, how warm your rooms are that it's kept in and everything like that as well. So that's it for my video today then, guys. I really hope that this has helped you. Hopefully to make a few more plant purchases, help you grow your houseplant collection a little bit more with some easy care houseplants, and especially if you're a beginner, I really do hope that this helps you get started. If you've enjoyed my video today, guys, please do subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to give me a big thumbs up to tell me that you enjoyed my video, and please leave any comments down below as well if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help you out and answer as many questions as I can. Thank you guys, bye!